Hello everyone, it's Matt here and welcome to a review of the Brickmania Mark V World War 1 Heavy Tank Kit. And to start off with this review, we're having a look at the model itself. Now this is the front quarter view, you may want to call it, showing the front of the tank, which is here, and the left hand side, as you can see. So to begin with, the kit itself is remarkably large. You can see this is an actual genuine Lego minifigure for scale. So you can see where he'd roughly come up to in terms of the bodywork, because these tanks were quite large. And it's the typical sort of British World War 1 tank design of a rather boxy, slightly misshapen actual body with wraparound tracks. So these come over the body rather than going round rollers, and you also have some side sponsons with the actual armoury. You can tell this is a male tank because it has one large gun and a machine gun for protecting the tank. The female's version of the tank would have two machine gun turrets giving you a 180-degree rate of fire completely around the tank. This is a male tank, so it has the large gun for taking out enemy emplacements, and then it's got some four machine guns, one in sort of to cover each quadrant, to provide some defence. To give a little bit of history of the tank, the Mark V is actually a development of the Mark IV, which was development of the Mark V, and that was a development of the Mark II, and then the Mark I. The reason why the Mark V came into existence was that British tank designers were trying to create a new tank during World War One, but couldn't find the time and couldn't get the effort required to create a whole new tank. So what they did instead was take the Mark IV design, which I just mentioned previously, was just an evolution of the Mark I, and fit it with new mechanicals. So that's a new engine, a new gearbox, which meant the driver could drive it on his own. He didn't have to have somebody change gears for him. And there's slight upgrading to the armament and a few other bits and pieces. So this tank is late war. You're talking about 1917-18. I think these actually first saw combat in 1918, but I think the design itself was mostly done in 17 and the start of 18, as production was beginning to commence. The tank itself, I've already talked about, has the front. The side, as you can see here, it's got the gun. This gun has a 100-degree turn of fire, so I'll just move the commander figure out the way to look at later. And this has a 100-degree, so that's from dead ahead to 90 degrees, which is about there. And then it's also got another about 5 to 10 degrees to swing that way as well. So you have the same again on the opposite side. You also have a machine gun, and this would be for defending this side of the tank from enemies who are trying to attack it and throw grenades, for example. If I turn the kit round, you can see the side view of the tank, and here are some vents, and you see these are represented by some cheese slopes. You've got a filler cap here. I believe this was actually for the fuel tank, and you've got a little bit of detail covering the rear, one of the rear track rollers. Moving to the back of the kit now, and you can see we have some flaps here, and these are individual flaps. So you have one there and another one here, and I've just knocked off that again. And what I've just knocked off is actually the Semaphore Signaling. Because World War One predates radio, instead of having radio communication between tanks, if a tank was in trouble, it'd actually have a pigeon with it, and that would actually go through a flap, I think in one of the side sponsons or in the roof, to go and get help. But for communication on the battlefield, a commander who'd actually sit in this rear cupola here would actually use the semaphores to indicate tank what the tank was doing, or for signals. For example, he could be using them like this, or for that, to indicate possibly that the tank was going to turn right, etc., etc. The rear of the tank, as I've already mentioned, has got opening flaps, and it has a machine gun. All the machine guns in this kit are custom mounted and custom moulded. So these aren't actual Lego guns, although you can replace these with the Civil War era musket, that appeared, I think, originally in the Pirates line, but these are custom moulded machine guns, as are the gun barrels on the side guns. And I'll just rotate this round again, and as you can see, this is again a copy of the aside but mirrored. Turning to the top of the tank, we have a unditching beam here, and the unditching beam was there to essentially rescue the tank from mud periods. The reason why the unditching beam is here is that these rails act to guide the unditching beam when it's not in use. So when it's not in use, it's actually stowed here, and I've not put them on because of the way the tube was going on during construction. But these actually have chains, and they're actually in the box, which is just off camera, just here. Well, this would have chains on it, and in practice, this would be chained to the track, and then this would be rolled around to help push the tank out of the mud. So that was another reason why you had another cupola at the back here, and that was to help actually attach this to the tracks so that once it went round, it could go round. This is actually a Mark IV idea, believe it or not, but didn't actually appear on the Mark IVs. It actually only appeared on the Mark Vs in actual service, but was tested originally on the Mark IVs. So we have two opening flaps here, and I don't know how well these are going to work. And that's come off again. So I'll just take off the unditching beam here, which is only held on by some clips, and there we go. We have two flaps there, which would give the figure access to the back, and we also have a second one up here. And it could actually be prototypical to actually have most of the flaps open on this tank, for a very simple reason. The tank itself drew in air from the outside, which is what this black section is. This is actually the air intake, and the reason why the tank did that was that it sucked in air from the outside and then combusted this in the engine, which is actually just below, and then expelled the fumes into the cabin. Previous iterations of the tank would draw in air from the cabin itself and then expel it outside using an exhaust system, which was much better for the tankers themselves. But in the Mark V, it would lead to carbon monoxide poisoning. So obviously, if you're inside the tank, it was really bad conditions, because not only did you have the heat of the engine, but also the fumes from the engine. That pretty much covers the entire exterior of the tank. And I will point out actually that the sides are removable, so I'm just going to gently try and remove this side, which might not go very well. And there we go, I've removed the front half, but the whole tank side is removable. Give me a second. Okay, and that's the tank body reassembled. So I'm just going to turn this around opposite now. So here is the actual gun or turret barrel itself, and you can actually put a shell in there should you so wish to, because Brickmania also sells shells. And here is the actual machine gun itself. The machine gun itself doesn't actually move like the others, because it's actually clipped on at the top rather than mounted on a 1x1 round plate with a hole in, so it doesn't actually rotate, but that actually does represent the machine gun. Okay, so looking at the inside of the tank, I think actually the roof is removable as well. So I'm just going to gently break apart some of the kit and do that. And that obviously lets a lot more light in, so you can sort of see here is the engine, this huge white block. If I move this forward, you actually also have the crank handle, which is simulated down here, and obviously there's towards the rear of the tank, so there's your machine gun position all the way back there, and you would theoretically have enough room for a full crew complement in here. It may be a bit tight though, because you would have 6, I think, in total. So you'd have your navigator slash machine gunner here. You'd have your driver here. It does have 2 each side for manning the machine gun and the actual turrets, and then you also have a one to the rear manning the machine gun. I think you'd also have a commander as well, so 6, possibly 7 crew in total to man the entire tank. And that pretty much concludes the exterior of the tank. So let's have a look at the box and the figure now.
The figure included in the kit is of a tank commander. This is a reuse of an existing torso print that Brickmania did for a pilot, but serves equally well here as a tank commander. The torso itself features custom printing both the front and rear, including details such as belt buckle, clasp, as well as creases to the rear. The arms and legs are unprinted.
So here is the box itself that the kit came in, and this is actually just a standard black box with a sticker that covers the front, this side, and then the bottom of the box. And an interesting point to note is that Dan Siskand himself, I believe, has signed this, and this includes the model number and the actual kit reference. So that is the kit reference, so it's his kit 417, and that's actually the model number. So this is actually model 171 of kit 417. So this is obviously something to be cared for future reference. So on the inside of the box we have, I've obviously built the kit obviously, but originally there were 4 bags in here, so obviously you still have one which has the track links in and also the change for the unditching beam, and you had 3 bags of elements, and these were pretty much sorted into parts of specific families. So you had bricks and plate and tiles and clips and a few other, and everything else was sort of in a familial sort of bag, so that you knew where to go to for something, and kudos to Brickmania for doing that. The kit itself also includes a certificate of authenticity to say it is a complete and authentic Brickmania kit, and it also comes with these lovingly bound A4 size instructions. So instructions all the way to the back, for the final one for the unditching beam, and then obviously the back just having some more B-roll shots displaying what the tank features are, and also a little one of the figure there. So that is everything you get in the kit, obviously once it's assembled. So now it's time to wrap up the review and sort of give my verdict on what the kit is like.
So, to the conclusion then. Aesthetically, the kit is absolutely fantastic, and the instructions, of which I really must give kudos to Brickmania for, because the clear printing along with the white backgrounds leads to clear identification of parts and where they're supposed to go on the kit. The functionality of the kit itself is really good, with the opening hatches, the rotating gun barrel and the turret, as well as the custom printed machine guns, allowing you to not only move them left to right but also up and down, although the ones to the side are fixed. The only major negative I will say of the kit is the unditching beam and the rail. The rail itself is formed with a piece of flex tubing that you must bend yourself to fit into the kit, and I think this is actually where the kit kind of falls down, because the rail itself, or the tubing to represent the rail, is extremely hard to bend, and that's not a fault of Brickmania itself, it's to do with the actual properties of the tube itself being a plastic tube. But a guide to how the bends are supposed to be formed on the tube would have been beneficial to sort of show you where it's supposed to be bent and how much by. I know these instructions are included, for example, in some Lego Technic models for the pneumatic tubing, and something similar would have been nice to have been featured here to sort of show you how much flex you should have given the tubes to begin with. It took me about 5 minutes or so in total just to fit the tubes to represent the rails, and largely that was due to the fact that the tubes were kind of inflexible and needed quite a lot of bending to actually get them in place as it was. So that's the only negative I have of the kit, really, aside from the obvious side of the tank falling apart. But overall, I'd give this kit a 9.5 out of 10, with obviously the few minor drawbacks mentioned. And that's it from me, and I'll see you in the next video.